Hi, it's Ivaldi Sako. Welcome to the show. Today we'll talk about whatever you saw in the title of this podcast, of course, as usual, and including the 5 steps to learn anything and pretty much do the impossible. It's not a false claim. It's absolutely true because I'm going to talk to you about this book. I'll also have maybe the time to talk to you about how to double your productivity in a week. And the extremely productive tool I used that also will give you peace of mind and help you hold yourself accountable to yourself, which is very useful. There's also something that Elon Musk uses, so it could be very profitable for you to use that as well. And so if any of that interests you, I suggest you keep watching. And if you're new here, my name is Ivaldi Sako. I'm an entrepreneur on a mission to inspire, motivate, and educate the world. I help experts share their knowledge so that we educate the world and make it a better place. Kind of like doing this. And if you're interested in growing, here I basically tell you what I learn reading books and telling you the most important things in those books, the things that are most applicable so that you don't have to read them through, even though I suggest you do. But I'll also tell you how to become truly free and successful by sharing my journey of entrepreneurship, trying to build a big business. And if you want to just improve your life overall, if any of that interests you, I suggest you don't waste a split second and click the button subscribe to not forget and miss next episode, because this podcast will serve you tremendously. And we also have a little fee here between two gentlemen, right? Most people here watching this are men. And if you get some value out of this, we got a fee, you gotta pay it. It's just that you share it. You share the show. That's it. With someone that may find this helpful. Also, side note, I'm not an English native speaker, but I think you'll be able to understand me pretty well to get a lot of value from this show. So I suggest you watch this until the end, as also for watch time, of course, but you actually get value from this. Anyway, so the 5 steps of learning anything, and learning it fast, and you don't need 10,000 hours to do that. And it's great because I don't want to spend 10,000 hours mastering something, right? And it is all thanks to this book. This book, I think you can't see it. It's in reverse, right? It's The Art of Impossible, a peak performance primer by Steven Kotler. It's a great book. It tells you about how anyone can actually achieve the impossible. Anyone has in themselves the biology. I don't know if you can see that, but like if you're watching, the human being on the cover is like made in particles and then ends up on the bottom of his body in a DNA sequence, right? In the DNA form. Because in your DNA, there is the capacity to do the impossible. And so I'll tell you exactly how to do it. So let's get into it. Grab yourself a drink if you want to. I think this is going to be pretty useful, and you might want to take notes as well. The 5 steps to learn anything and do the impossible. I took some notes, so I'm going to read you the notes, and I'm going to also read you through the book at the same time. Also, I'm so sorry, guys. It's very, very hot. I'll have to drink a little bit of water here and there. So I apologize in advance. I'm not going to apologize through the video and the podcast. So there are 4 things you need to achieve the impossible, as Steven Kotler says, and I really believe that it seems very factual at the very least, and I've found it very, very useful. And the first thing we talked about in the last podcast, it's motivation to do the impossible in general. This one is going to be more about the second step of doing the impossible, and it's learning. You need to learn, right? To be able to do great things, you need to learn how to do them. And the 4 things that you need to do the impossible are motivation, 1, 2, learning, 3, creativity, and 4, it's flow. And I guess I'll just tell you in the next podcast on the next steps. So if you want to know about the 4 steps and have the complete full guide on how to do the impossible, well, I guess you could subscribe to not forget and miss the next episodes. And so motivation, we talked about it in the last podcast, in the last episode. It was made of 5 parts, right? Those 5 parts are curiosity, passion, purpose, and autonomy, 4, and the 5th one is mastery. Now, to get to mastery, you need a lot of repetition. You need grit. You need perseverance. And so I did not touch on that on the last podcast. I'll get to it right now, and then we'll get to the learning part. Because you'll need the grit part to actually learn well, because you'll have to persevere. It's not going to be that easy, right? It's not going to take you 10,000 hours, but it's still not going to be that easy. Like, it's not going to happen in a day. So, grit has 3 main parts. 1, the grit to persevere. So when you don't feel like doing it anymore, when it's becoming hard, well, you persevere. Basically, it's like pretty simple. Then there's willpower. You will your way through doing the things that you don't want to do, even though you're not doing them right now. I'm going to do this right now, and you have the will to actually do them. There's mindset after that, and mindset is very, very important and crucial to learning. Mindset is how you think. Mindset is it's not mindset that is very important. It's a growth mindset, which I talked about in depth, and I have a mindset training that I suggest you go listen to it and apply. It's a training. It's a 3-part series training on mindset, which is crucial. Like, it will change your life if you actually apply it and believe the information and actually apply it. I have a Google Doc as well going with it. It's actually like kind of a course, but for free. So I think you should check it out. I don't know if I'm going to keep it there for free forever, but it's there maybe for now. Go check it out. There's the need for growth mindset, and the growth mindset means that you believe that you can grow, right? That's the main thing. And you believe because you believe that you can learn. Because if you don't believe that you can learn, learning will actually, I think you should not be there, right? You should not have clicked on this podcast because it's about learning. And if you don't believe you can learn, it doesn't benefit you, right? So hopefully everybody here believes that they can learn. If you don't believe, if you happen to know someone that doesn't believe that they can learn and progress and have a growth mindset and become better, the best thing to do is that you ask them the question, okay, what are you able to do right now? So if, for example, they have a skill right now, they are able to do something that they were not capable of doing before. When, like 5 years back, they were not able to do something. So they are able to learn. This is basically the proof that they are able to learn. Now, once they know that they are able to learn, now they have a growth mindset, they are going to be able to take the actions to learn better and actually learn, right? If they don't believe they can learn and go better, they won't. Basically, this is what mindset allows you to do. Then there's passion also in the grit part, right? You have to be passionate. And passion is also about like pain. Like when you are passionate about something, you're going to go through it, like you're going to go through pain to basically like continue improving this thing, continue doing this thing that you're passionate about. You're going to go through pain. And so passion allows you to go through this pain. Passion allows you to have those dopamine hits, as he tells, as he says, as Steven Kotler says in his book. It allows you to, okay, you persevere because you like it, actually, right? It's worth it. Then there's the grit to control your thoughts. You need to control your self-talk, because on the way toward achieving great things and trying to do more, trying to persevere, you're gonna have maybe some thoughts about whether you can or not. some doubts. And you can if you have a negative self-talk, basically, it's going to prevent you from this dopamine that you get on the way there, on the way towards your goals, on the way to learning. It's going to prevent you from gaining this dopamine, and so it's not going to reinforce the behavior. It's not going to reinforce for you learning, going after your goals, taking the actions. So you need to be aware of your self-talk. In your self-talk, if you have a negative self-talk, there's a research in it that says that if you have one negative thought, you need 3 positive ones to counter it. So for each negative thought that you have, you need to have to stop it, okay, realize it, stop it, and inject 3 positive ones instead of it to just balance it out, right? And so you want to be having a positive self-talk, not just a neutral one, right? You want to have a positive one, and so you might consider adding more positive thoughts on a daily basis, consciously, constantly keeping in check your self-talk, how you talk to yourself. And one thing that is very useful is each time that you kind of judge yourself, each time that you kind of talk to yourself in your head, talk it out loud. Sometimes you can even send it to a friend. And this externalization will make you realize what you're doing, make you more aware of it. And so because you will be more aware of it, you'll be able to, change it. It'll be easier for you to change it and to catch yourself much easier. You need to also practice mindfulness to be able to have this positive self-talk more and to increase your focus. There's 2 sides of increasing your focus. You can increase your focus with mindfulness. Basically, is like a form of meditation. You can have a meditation where you're focused on one focal point, and another type of meditation where you focus on multiple sensations, right? So a one focal point meditation. So for example, you just concentrate on your breath, for example. That's a one focal point meditation, mindfulness. If you focus on one dot on a piece of paper, like in front of you, for a long period of time, that's one focal point. If you're in a forest, in woods, and you just are aware and mindful and focus on your sensations, this is multiple focal points, right? There's multiple areas on which you focus your attention. And so the first one, one focal point meditation, mindfulness, makes you more able to take actions toward a goal, like a precise thing, math, right? It helps you focus better. The multiple focus point mindfulness is allows you to have more creativity. So it allows you to be able to have better ideas, become more creative, basically. And so those are the things that allow you to have a more grit, basically more perseverance. Another thing to help you have more perseverance and grit is, oh my God, it's like very, very hot here. I'm really burning hot in my car. If you are just listening to this podcast, I'm in my car, and it's not a great idea. I keep doing this because it's just like having a big range of view in front of me to be like more inspired to film those podcasts. And then when I'm just inside the home and with the lights on me, it's not that pleasant. But here in my car, it's more pleasant, but like right now, it's very hot. Anyway, I won't waste your time anymore. Fear as a compass. It tells you that when you are motivated, you need to have fear. Like high performance individuals use fear as a compass. Once they are away, oh my God, I'm afraid of this. They go all in. They go there. And they don't hesitate and doubt. No. They see fear and they let their fears guide them. Because oftentimes this is where they're going to grow. This is where they're going to be able to do the impossible. And after that, you need to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And the way to do that is just like, where you're uncomfortable. Think of where, okay, I'm afraid a little bit here. I'm afraid a little bit there. I'm not great socially, for example. Well, you put yourself into those situations. And to putting yourself into them, you'll be able to be less scared of them and keep taking the actions. And by taking the risk, it gives you dopamine, which is like the whole premise of this book is just based on biology. He says, the author, that the goal to achieve the impossible and to learn anything is to make your brain want to do that and make yourself like automatically take the right actions so that you don't need to think about it anymore. It comes easily and naturally to you. That's the goal. And so let me drink a little bit of water before I tell you how to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and be your best when you're at your worst. Because, well, let me drink a little bit of water before. And so you need to be certain of performing at a high level even when you're down. Because most of the time, a lot of time, you're not going to be at your best peak states. You're going to be in a middle state, right? In a not so perfect state. And sometimes you're going to be in your worst conditions and you have to perform still. And so to be able to perform at your best when you're at your worst, there's a precise way that Steven Kotler does that. So for example, he tells you that to practice a speech, he wanted to make sure that even if conditions were not perfect, he was going to perform extremely well. What did he do? Basically, he put himself in the worst condition possible. He went on a hike, a big hike, a long, long hike. Then after that, he went on a gym session. Then he finished himself. Like he completely was done with the last exercise was jump roping, right? And then I think he did something else. He didn't sleep well at all. He had barely 6 hours of sleep, of bad night of sleep. He ate not well, I think. And then he practiced his speech while going on a hike again. I think it was that. Or very worst critical conditions, right? And then he practiced his speech in this condition until he got it right. In those circumstances. After that, he was pretty sure whatever happened after in any circumstances, if he's stressed out, if something goes wrong, he's ready for his speech. Whatever happens, right? So this is what you want to do. You want to increase your standard. You want to increase your lowest performance, right? Your lowest level. This is always what you get back to. This is your standard. This is you always regress to the mean. It's the average of how you perform, right? And sometimes you're really down. If you're up and you increase so much those downs, those the minimal performance that you can the worst performance that you can give, if it's very high, well, you're pretty sure to get the things that you want to do done right? After that, there's also a reframing, because when you're going through pain, it's not pleasant, right? And sometimes you can interpret that as something very bad, as a very difficult condition where you're doing public speaking and you have a terrible experience. It's painful, right? You want to reinterpret, you reframe this experience. Every time it's hard, even it's just hard. It's not stressing you out. It's just very hard to keep going, to have the grit. And you're suffering. Maybe it's physical. You're suffering a lot. What you want to do is reframe that in your mind. Don't tell yourself, oh my God, it's bad that I'm suffering right now. No, have a positive experience. Transform that into a positive reinforcement, right? Reframe the exhaustion as a positive experience, an offering toward a worthy goal. That's the goal. Like you want to make it enjoyable and reinforce that, right? There's a positive feedback loop. If you know what you're talking about, if you don't know what I'm talking to you about, I'm referring to the mindset training. The first part, I talked about the feedback loop that goes on in your mind. And you want to reinforce a behavior by using this feedback loop. Then, oh my God, the book is getting all sweaty because I'm sweating too much. Okay. There's also, you want to ask yourself what your weaknesses are. What are your weaknesses? And the way you can do this is by, first of all, asking yourself, okay, where am I not good at? And asking friends and family to tell you about this, because they will tell you, okay, I'm not counting on you on that, right? You're definitely not going to do this for me, right? Then you know. Also, there's one way to know where are your mental weaknesses. And the biggest thing is always your beliefs. And so to know where are your weaknesses, you can ask yourself, okay, what did I believe 3 months ago that I now know is wrong? For me, 3 months ago, like literally 3 months ago, I believed that eating vegetables was the best thing you could do. Eating vegetables was healthy, and maybe you believe that too. Well, I found some pretty compelling evidence for me that it might not be the case. Not always, at least. And so I went carnivore after that. And so I did not believe that it would be possible for me to eat only meat. I did not believe that at all. I found some new information and I learned. My weakness, okay, I asked myself then after that. So I wrote down those notes. I came up with the answer that plants are always healthy. This was the belief that I had. Then asking myself, why did I believe that? Ask yourself, okay, why did you believe that belief that you now know is wrong? Well, for me, it was just that everyone believes that, right? So I didn't question it. And so you most likely don't question a lot of things people see as common sense. Or maybe you don't question things that you've been taught when you were a kid. And this is a lot of people do that. I'm sure you do that. You've been taught some things that when you were a kid, when you grow up, you don't think to question that because this is all you knew since all your life, right? All of your memories were always like, eat your veggies, right? It's always good. Well, not necessarily. And then I found my weakness. I don't think of questioning my beliefs. Well, your truest beliefs are always the ones that you question the least, right? You don't think of questioning the beliefs that you really believe, because if you really believe them, you wouldn't question them. And this is what I had. I truly believed that vegetables were healthy, always, all time, in any quantities. Like it was always good. I was eating a lot. Like 3 months ago, I was eating a lot of them. Then it's been like almost 2 months. I've been carnivore just because I had like some health issues. I wanted to try it. I don't necessarily like it at all. I want to go back, but anyway, I did not believe that it was possible to question this belief. Like, it was ingrained in myself. So right now I can ask myself, okay, what do I firmly believe that I don't think of questioning anymore? So I can prevent my weaknesses from giving me a blind spot, right? Which was a blind spot before for me, to think that veggies were always and all time healthy, very healthy, the healthiest thing that I could eat, right? Okay, where was I? You also need the grit to recover. And because if you don't recover, you're going to burn out. And burnout makes you need even more recovery. And you need to stick to the recovery. You need to make it well. You can't watch TV when you recover really well, because your brain is in an alpha state, I believe, and you want to be in a theta state. I don't know, but like, you don't want to be in front of screens. It makes you think. It makes your brain work. You want to be completely like off of screens, and go in nature mostly and do some physical activity. It's the best way to rest and recover. Not high intensity activity, of course, especially if you're resting physically, for physical reasons mostly. But in any kind of rest, you want to be off and do things like meditation, mindfulness, or stretching, going on long walks. This works very well. I'm going to do that right after I just sweat all of the water in my body, so I'm going to drink a little bit of water again. Sorry, guys. And so all of that is to increase your grit, your ability to have the grit, and the grit to persevere, to be able to achieve mastery, to be able to learn. And so, in the learning part, I'm actually going to open the book right now to be able to tell you exactly, not forget the important things. There's a few things that he tells you about to be able to learn. So first of all, in the learning part of the book, he tells you about the ingredient of impossible. And those were really interesting. Like, everybody that achieves the impossible, and the impossible means something that has never been done before in this example, because he also talks about two kinds of impossible. Impossible, small I, means the impossible that you've never done before, right? The impossible for you. And capital I, impossible, is something that has never been done before. Right now we're talking about the capital I, impossible. And here are the things that like high performance people that achieve the impossible have in common. Patterns that novices don't notice. Anomalies or events that didn't happen, or events that violate expectations. This is the thing that they see that nobody else sees, I think. The big picture, the way things work, opportunities and improvisations, events that already happened in the past or will happen in the future, differences that are too small to notice for novices, and their own limitations. So they see those things. All those things, they see them, and people that can't achieve the impossible don't see those things. So your goal should be to be able to see those things, and you can do so by learning. And so to learn, you need to have a growth mindset, as we talked about earlier, right? You need to believe that you can learn, but you also need truth filters. And this is where Elon Musk comes into the pot, because he has one. Of course, everyone that is achieving the impossible has one. And so the truth filter that he has, the author, Steven Kotler, he was a journalist basically, and he needs to, like, the goal of the truth filter is to filter out the truth, to know what is really true. Because if you don't know what is really true, you're not going to learn the right things. And so you want to learn the right things, and you want to know the truth. And so him, to be able to know the truth, he basically asks, there's a rule in journalism, is when you ask 3 experts and they give you the same answer, well, this is the truth. It's very likely to be the truth. But he found that you need to ask 5 people, because oftentimes when you ask for 5 people, the 5th one says something different. And so you need to have, after the 5th one, if the 5th one doesn't answer the same thing that the 4 other experts that you ask the question to, I think here right now on YouTube, you could actually just search and look for answers on the internet. This would work as questioning people, right? Questioning experts. Of course, you need to see if they are really experts in their field or not. You want to ask 5 people. If the 5 people don't answer the same thing about the question that you had on a subject, you want to ask 5 other people. And if those 5 other people answer the same thing, then it's the truth. It's very likely to be the truth, at least. Now, there's another way to have truth filters, and it's with principles. One of the ways Elon Musk filters out the truth is by thinking in first principles. What does that mean? So he wanted to, for his SpaceX, I believe, he wanted to build a rocket, right, to go in space. I don't remember really the story, but basically it was too costly. Like, it was way too much money to do that, to build a rocket, like 20 millions, right? And he didn't take that for granted. He didn't take that for the immediate truth. He asked himself, okay, like, well, let's think about it, right? What is a rocket made of? What is a rocket made of? What are the core components that make a rocket? He found, okay, what is the foundation? What is the foundation that our rocket built upon? The raw materials. And so he went and looked for the raw materials, and he found, okay, there's metals, there's this metal, there's aluminum, I don't know, right? There's all these, core components that may allow you to build the rocket. And so he went and found them at a cheaper price, and he was able to build a rocket for way less than $20 million, I believe. And so he was able to do the impossible just by questioning the truth that was set in front of him by the market, by the competition, right? Everybody believed something, but he didn't take that for granted. He was like, okay, let's process by first principles. First principles is, okay, what is this information built upon? What is a business built upon? Okay, there's a customer having, helping people. What did I just say? I'm so tired. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just like sweating my. Whew. Anyway, you got the example, right? Functioning in first principle. After that, you need to understand the ROI on reading, because he tells you, not only because he's an author, but because the ROI on reading is the highest ROI on anything that you could do to learn something new. He tells you to read a blog. It takes you 3 minutes to get 3 days worth of someone that has, of someone else's experience. Someone else has gone through 3 days of experience, of learning, of work, and he condensed it in a way that you can ingest it and digest it in 3 minutes, right? It takes you about 3 minutes to read the blog, on average. This is like averages. For articles, 20 minutes gets you 4 months. So this is way better, right? An ROI on your time, basically. And for books, 5 hours of reading through a book, about, I think it was like 200 words per minute on average. I read way slower than that, I think. But anyway, 5 hours gets you 15 years, right? This was, I think, for his books. Now, there are some books that are biographies, right? And these get you like double that, triple that. They give you like life experiences. So I think this is like the most useful books to read are biographies. So I think I will be reading more than on that. I read Ray Dalio's book. It was great, right? And I think it was one of the few autobiographies that I've read. Maybe some other ones, but I think I'm going to read more autobiographies. And so books are a tremendous ROI on your time to be able to read and to be able to learn new things and new subjects. Now, there are 5 not so easy steps for learning almost anything. I didn't say it was, but it's not that hard either. It's not going to take you 10,000 hours. So the 5 steps are, guys, I'm just like, I'm so sweaty right now. I don't think you can believe me right now if I told you how sweaty I am. So I don't know what to do. I'm honestly I'm just like sweating so much. I don't know if I open the door. Whew. Sorry, guys, if I just shouted in your ears. But let's keep going. I have the grit to persevere, right? Let me drink a little bit of water, though. First step to learn anything is, he calls it the 5 books of stupid. You need to read 5 books. The 2 first one is things that interest you, things that you're curious about. Very important. Curiosity is always the leading thing to learn something, because when you do things with curiosity, you learn better. always, because it's things that inherently interest you. So the first 2 books on the subject, you want to learn about a subject, right? An entire like new field, for example. And there's 5 books that you need to read. 2 first one on the subject is like something like curiosity. You're not going to understand a whole much. You're going to feel like you're stupid. This is why it calls it the 5 books of stupid, because there's a lot of jargon, of lingo, right? Of words that they use that you don't understand yet, because you're not in the field. And so, sorry guys, you're going to read those 2 books. Then the 3rd book is a little bit more advanced, right? And the 4th book is very like something like very high level in this field, right? Something very recognized and deep in details. And the 5th one is something about the future. What does the future of the subject looks like? The questions about, okay, what's next? And this way, you get yourself into it at best. After that, you want to, like, while you're reading, you want to take notes, right? Take notes on what interests you. Again, what you think will be useful for you, not take notes on general knowledge. This thing, like, you don't want to. You don't want to take notes on general knowledge that might be useful someday. No, you don't care about this. What you care about is something that interests you, something that you think are useful, and some questions that you think of while reading the book. Okay, well, how about this, right? How could I use this in that? Make connections. Find intersections between your knowledge in this new field and fields that you already know. And step 2 is to be the idiot, to go ask the questions to experts, and maybe ask for people to do on like some interviews, or ask them questions online. You can do a lot of things like this. It's pretty much like much easier than you might think. Like, people are interested in talking about things that they know, especially if you acknowledge that they know a lot and you made some research about them and you respect their work, right? Basically, if they're experts, they have made some work, some scientific papers, for example, maybe, and you want to show that you've done your homework, basically. You don't go there and just ask like some generic question that everybody asks. Ask a deep question about something that they talked about, right? This is the way to get their attention. Step 3, explore the gaps, right? That's things that you don't know, things that I'm just checking out if I'm just not saying like BS things right now. There's like gaps in your knowledge. There's like questions that you need to fill, right? And maybe some things, like I just said, that intertwine, like it just like correlates with another field that you know more about. Try to fill the gap. Step 4, always ask the next question. So what's happening next? Okay, so if right now we arrived at this idea in this subject. Okay, so right now we think, okay, I don't know, like nature is going in this direction. Woods are being like less and less. There's less trees on the planet, right? For example. So okay, we are in this direction. What's next? How do we remedy this, right? So you ask yourself the next question, and you maybe find some other books. I think this is the step. No. This is useful stuff that I think he talks about later. You find, okay, other answers, like what's next in this field, right? And you ask those questions maybe to the experts that you talk to about. And doesn't like it's kind of like bothering to talk to some other people to learn a new subject. But if you want to really master a new subject and learn anything, you will need to do that. But I think today you are able to go a long way just by using the internet, just by using YouTube, just by listening to podcasts like this one. Then step 5 is to find the narrative, because humans learn with stories. Like, it's much more easier to process information when you can set them in the right order, in the right sequence. And when you can do that, it's just like everything is easier to store in memory. And so you want to find the narrative. Okay, what happened before? Okay, this happens after. Okay, after that, here's what happened, right? Find the narrative, the story. Then, this is how to learn a subject. But subjects are not the all and final game that you want to play. For example, you want to learn how to play guitar. You're not going to learn how to play guitar just by theory, just by reading. You can't do that. You need to actually apply. You need to actually like execute, right? And so you need the skill of skill. And so in this chapter, he tells you about how to. It tells you about Tim Ferriss, that he actually achieved the impossible. He made the impossible possible multiple times, which I think he did like acquire like high skills in different areas, which one of them was jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is martial arts, playing the guitar, I think. And he did that by finding the 80-20, the 20% of the actions that would get him 80% of the results. And so he was able to do that not in 10,000 hours, but he got a very, very decent level. Very decent level. A great level. Can I mention that another time? An insane level. In guitar and jiu-jitsu, just by working on it 5 days. 5 days, that's it. The way he did that is, for example, in music, he asks him, okay, what's the most important thing here? Those are four chords. If I learn those 4 chords, I can play like 80% of the, what do you call that? 80% of the songs in, what is the kind of songs, right? Hip hop? Not hip hop. I don't know, whatever. It's like a certain style of music, right? You can learn like most of them and play most of them just with 4 chords. If you learn those 4 chords, right? And in jiu-jitsu, he learned one choking technique, and he focused just on this one only choking technique. And with it, he was able to learn multiple, like use it. He learned how to use it in multiple positions, right? And so he practiced this one a lot. And so in 5 days, he was able to compete with like high level individuals in this sport. And so you need to go then after that, in the next chapter, stronger. Stronger, what does that mean? That means that you want to play at your strength, right? I'm going to take my notes right now. Where was I? Work on your strength. So, what got you great? Ask yourself, what got you great at something? What are your previous achievements? One of your proudest, one of your achievements, one of the things that you did that you were the most proud of. Ask yourself, what is it? And then ask yourself, okay, what is one of my strengths and my skills that allowed me to do that? And then you can see your strength. And what you want is to work on them once a week, because he tells you that it increases happiness, well-being, and the amount of flow, which is one of the most important things. Oh my God. In the next episode, we'll talk about it in more depth, because right now my phone is overheating. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you on another podcast, because I don't have the time to make another episode. See you.